I don't know whether it was a magistrate or a judge. That means that there's even now no order in a court where we are supposed to have order. While the gentleman had very legitimate issues, but he broke a protocol and decorum. That is number one. So anybody wanting change in any society must condemn attacks on the judiciary. Number two, we must condemn attacks on law enforcement officers. We saw, I don't know whether some of them are here, they actually beat up policemen. And there was even a member of GSU who was getting kicks all over. And one said, wait a minute, we think that maybe GSU guys are experts in martial arts. But the law enforcement officer was given a beating. But nobody has come out to condemn the beating of a policeman. Nobody has come out to condemn that the courts were burnt. Can you imagine for a second if maybe you had an issue with your piece of land and your title is in that law court and the files have gone up in flames? How do you reconstruct the evidence? There's some exhibits which have been lost. And then, of course, there is this order which was given that for policemen, they were reminded of two things. That the only time you use a weapon is when your life is in danger or the life of a citizen actually is also in danger. That is the time you're supposed to use a weapon. And that is a standard practice all over the world. And contrary to popular belief, the Cabinet Secretary for Interior, the Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen, has no capacity to give the IG of police instructions. He cannot give instructions around the operational level. It's only on policy level, and they must be in writing. And the Kenyan Constitution is very clear, and the standing orders are very clear. The National Police Service Act is very clear on when a policeman can use a weapon. And I think because in the middle of this misinformation and disinformation, there's been a bit of confusion to the extent even right now, law-abiding citizens fear going to a police station because they think on site they may stop a bullet, which again really is unacceptable. But now let's come to the disruptions within the CBD. And the lady on my left here will confess shortly that these mandamanos have caused a lot of harm to the business community in Kenya. Because on that particular day, it was a public holiday, so people lost their sales. That is for somebody who is very lucky, that the only thing you lost is your sales. But for the shops which were open, they were looted. Even some attendants got a beating. And let's take an example. Say one of these young men has opened a store along Moi Avenue, and they've gone to a local bank, secured a facility of 10 million bob. And then you've bought top-of-the-range machines, say laptops, mobile phones. And then you've opened up in the morning, then you see Gen Z coming up with genuine interests, but with the criminal elements. As you struggle to close your business, some people, because from what we were told yesterday, a number of the criminal elements had weapons. So they come to your shop, and they make away with a stock worth 10 million bob. Can you imagine? Stock worth 10 million bob. Then now you start asking, is this mandamano then a legitimate expression of issues that Gen Z want the state addressed or not? But at the end of the day, in as much as we are not supposed to pass the buck, but the buck stops with our leadership, because they were elected into public office and they're supposed to offer leadership. If they don't offer leadership, then it means that they're failing their responsibilities. However, every single Kenyan has got insurable interest in the success of our nation.
All right.
So all of us must move together and make sure that we've got a nation. Because if the nation goes up into flames, and you've got many neighbors, many examples that are our neighbors that we may not want to mention names. But can you imagine the prospects of all of us right now becoming refugees? That Kenya has been torn into pieces. And there's funny conversation in Kenya that let's divide Kenya into a parts, kila mtu apatiwe piece yake aende zake. But if you're not very careful,
right,
if we do not demonstrate our insurable interest, can you imagine that now it's Kenyans who are moving to Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, because we are now refugees. Because for some reason we have refused to embrace dialogue, to have conversations. And finally, in my view, what the leadership must do then is ensure that there is a dialogue. Because even if you do not like the citizens, even if you do not like the people who voted you into office, when they come up and say, Mr. President, Mr. Governor, Mr. MP, Mr. MCA, we've got issues that we want addressed. You must sit, you must listen to those issues because you are in that office, courtesy of Gen Z, courtesy of the voters. Because what is the definition of a leader? You're supposed to represent the interests and aspirations of the populace.
All right.
But again, as you look at me...
allow me to just pause for